Please welcome REO Speedwagon with these wonderful REO songs for you, my REO friends around the world. Keep in touch with the best and first REO YouTube channels from 2006 by DJ Julio from Venezuela. REO Speedwagon's biggest fan outside of USA, please follow me on my social networks. Thank you for all your support all these years watching Ovagon Veloz, 20 years old on YouTube. And always thinking that remember is to live again. Live every moment and love every day. Peace and love and rock and roll and REO forever. Thank you to all my friends in this wonderful world of music. Keep rocking Julio from Venezuela. Please watch the following REO video.
The piano is my favorite musical instrument. I remember that since I was a child I used to listen to that wonderful sound that comes from this musical instrument, thanks to the afternoon classical music concert of La Emisora Cultural de Caracas, 97.7 FM. Which is recognized as the first FM station in Venezuela. Founded by Humberto Penaloza, it began its experimental broadcasts in 1975. In another podcast, I'll talk about the station and its importance in broadcasting rock and stereo with Alfredo Escalante and his program Medium, and La Música que sacudió el mundo o the music that shook the world. The former broadcast every day at 3 p.m. on the Caracas Cultural Radio Station. But let's continue talking about classical music and its influence on me because of my love for the piano as my favorite musical instrument. So, it wasn't me who put on that radio show, but my father, Julio Polio, may he rest in peace, who named me after him, because I was the long-awaited son after having 3 consecutive daughters who are obviously older than me. That's why I have the same name as my beloved father, who was a serenader and self-taught musician who even performed live on Venezuelan television back in 1956, when recorded TV show didn't exist. He was able to meet the pioneers of radio broadcasting in person, and Venezuelan television such as William Phelps Tucker and Gustavo Cisneros, since I worked for both of them, and my father sang a wide musical repertoire of more than 500 songs by Venezuelan composers, and even Mexican ones such as José Alfredo Jiménez, Agustin Lara, and others. And it was listening to this radio show, El Concierto, every day at 4 afternoon, and also listening to the collection of classical music records that my dad always played in our home, that my great musical taste for the piano was born. It's my all-time favorite musical instrument, and as one thing always leads to another, I truly believe that I am a huge REO fan of the American rock band REO Speedwagon, precisely because it's a band that includes a pianist and keyboardist like Neal Doughty, whom I had the opportunity to see in 5 of the 6 concerts that REO Speedwagon performed in my country, Venezuela, in the 80s and 90s. Neal's also been my Facebook friend since 2009, when I created my Facebook account to find REO friends around the world. And although I only have 130 friends, I think I've gotten to know them, because in friendship, the quality of friends prevails over the number of followers, and that way I can tell them my REO stories about REO Speedwagon. Because as I've mentioned in other videos, my fondness for this legendary band stems precisely from the piano solo in Your Letter, which I heard one sunny day in the eternal Venezuelan spring in 1983. I was listening to Venezuelan radio stations that played rock music, and while changing the dial, I came across this beautiful song, featuring wonderful piano and keyboard sounds. It was none other than the amazing In Your Letter song by REO Speedwagon. But I already made a video about how I discovered the wonderful world of REO Speedwagon music thanks to the song In Your Letter, which you can find on the end screen of this video or by searching In Your Letter on my REO channel. All the videos related to this song will appear, and you can learn more about my REO channel at Ovagon Veloz, which has been running since 2006 and will be celebrating its 20th anniversary in 2026. It's the first time I've been uploading REO Speedwagon videos to YouTube. Or you can watch and listen to this REO podcast to learn about my REO history through 5 decades of listening to REO Speedwagon, from the 80s to the present day. This REO podcast today is more about my favorite musical instrument, the piano, and how it led me to discover the wonderful world of classical music in the 70s, as well as various musical genres like rock, salsa, Dominican merengue, Caracas merengue, and others. Genres of universal music, and how when I was just a child and a teenager I learned to love music in general and also to love classical music, and of course to love what I love most in my life after my family, which is the amazing and wonderful music of REO Speedwagon. The piano, a struck string instrument, has a history that combines millennia of evolution of stretched strings with 18th century technical innovation. Its modern origin is attributed to the Italian Bartolomeo Cristofori, who around 1700 created the first mechanism capable of varying the sound intensity according to the force of the touch. However, we also have remote and medieval predecessors. Before the piano, keyboard, and string music went through several fundamental stages. The zither, dating back approximately 3000 BC, is the oldest ancestor, consisting of strings stretched over a wooden box. The monochord, used by Pythagoras, consisted of a single string that was struck or plucked. The psaltery and dulcimer. During the Middle Ages, the psaltery, with plucked strings, and the dulcimer, with strings struck by hammers, laid the foundations for string percussion. The clavichord and harpsichord. These were predominant keyboard instruments until the 18th century. The clavichord allowed for some expression but was very soft, while the harpsichord was powerful but didn't allow for dynamic nuances because it always sounded at the same volume. The invention of the pianoforte, by Bartolomeo Cristofori, dissatisfied with the harpsichord's rigidity, led him to develop the gravicembalo, a powerful piano-tail instrument. His great breakthrough was a system of hammers that, after striking the string, immediately escaped to allow it to vibrate, enabling the performer to control the volume. The evolution to the modern instrument. Over the centuries, Cristofori's design was radically transformed to withstand greater tension and offer more power. In the 18th century, composers like Mozart and Haydn consolidated the piano as the central instrument of Western music. In the 19th century, crucial innovations were introduced, such as the cast iron frame, cross-strung strings, and Aird's double escapement mechanism, which allowed for the rapid repetition of notes. Currently, acoustic grand and upright pianos coexist with electric and digital pianos that use modern technology to replicate or expand the traditional sound. So, after a brief history of the musical instrument called the piano and its predecessors, let's return to my fondness for this amazing instrument and its use by the greatest and most legendary rock and roll bands of the 50s, 60s, 70s, and 80s, such as Chuck Berry and Little Richard, who used this versatile instrument for their rock and roll songs. This genre was born in the mid-1950s within the African-American community of musicians in the United States who played jazz, rhythm, and blues in bars and nightclubs. This music, when fused with other genres, gave rise to the famous rock and roll genre that dominated the music scene in the 50s and 60s. In these very energetic rock and roll songs, the piano found its place to shine and give brilliance and life to this nascent genre of music, which was very popular among the youth of those golden years of rock and roll. Thus, the piano achieved great notoriety and was the quintessential instrument for playing rock and roll and other genres of music. Music like jazz, and so little by little and over the years, the great rock, hard rock, and roll bands included in their lineup someone who was a master of the piano, whom I would like to call the pianist, the fifth member of a rock band, going beyond the traditional or classic four-member formation, which includes the singer, bassist, guitarist, and drummer. Often the singer plays piano in four-member bands, but I go further because the piano is my favorite musical instrument, and I would like that fifth member of a rock and roll band to be the pianist, or the piano itself as an extraordinary musical instrument, because it isn't always that way. Let's remember that there are many lead singers like Kevin Cronin of REO Speedwagon who also play the piano, but they are not considered piano virtuosos, as is undoubtedly the piano master Neal Doughty, who is certainly a better pianist and keyboardist than Kevin Cronin, who is an extraordinary frontman, songwriter, and amazing singer with a very beautiful and clear voice rarely heard in rock singers, who usually have a deeper and raspier voice like Bob Dylan and Rod Stewart. And for all these reasons, Neal is a master pianist and keyboardist, recognized by the band's leader, Kevin Cronin. It was precisely for this reason that Kevin didn't play piano on Can't Fight This Feeling himself, but instead sought out Neal Doughty. Together, they created the musical arrangements for this wonderful song, and time proved them right, as it reached #1 on the Billboard Hot 100 chart. Because of the importance of the pianist or piano solos in REO Speedwagon songs, I like to imagine that the fifth member or position in a rock and roll band is precisely for the pianist. Although we know that's not always the case, because Neal Doughty, the main founding member of REO Speedwagon since 1967, when they founded the band at the University of Illinois at Champaign, and he could hardly be called a fifth member of the band. But all of us who are fans of rock bands know that it's the pianist who becomes most famous in a rock band, and who most people turn to. At the concerts of these bands, well, that responsibility automatically falls on the singer or leader of the band, or the guitarist, who is often as famous as the singer for their amazing way of playing electric guitars, which for most rockers is their favorite musical instrument. And although I also really like the guitar solos in the songs because it's the most normal thing in a rock band, I truly appreciate them. Even more so when they are accompanied by a piano solo in the same song like Live Every Moment, which has amazing piano chords with excellent guitar solos by spectacular Gary Richrath, who is in my opinion the best rock guitarist of all time.